On today's Try to Finish Something, I know, where the heck have I been? I started putting together a video a little over a month ago, and I'm going to have that as part of today's video because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. I've been working on some set designs, I've been working on some movie props, there's a lot of stuff that I want to get you caught up with. But before we get to that, there's an individual that I wanted to talk about. His name is Don Close, and Don is a super kind, generous guy who's a member of the same Facebook nerd groups that I'm a member of. And anytime anybody posts something on any of those groups, Don is one of the first people that likes and comments, and super supportive guy. And when I started whatever this is, my YouTube channel, he was probably one of the first subscribers, and I think he might have been my very first Patreon member. And here's a quick Don story. So I had one video where my overhead support that holds the camera completely fell apart, and I wasn't able to get overhead shots, and it was a whole mess. And Don reached out and sent me an overhead camera support. And I didn't ask for it. I was super appreciative of it. He's just a very generous guy, and just with his time. I'm not even talking about financially. He's just a super generous guy. And for those that know, Don has been battling cancer, and if I would post something and I wouldn't see a response from Don, I would immediately reach out and just to make sure that he was okay. And we would talk about like the chemotherapy stuff that he was going through, and movies he was watching, and he would post some of those in his personal Facebook page and stuff like that. And his wife Barbara reached out, and Don lost his battle with cancer. So I just wanted to take this time to thank anybody who puts in their time and watches videos and supports with likes and things like that. I really appreciate it, and I want to dedicate this whole year to Don Close. Thank you for everything that you've done, for your support, and thank you everybody who watches these. Now, on today's Try to Finish Something, I'm going to get you an update on all of the crazy stuff that I've been working on, and then I've got some room builds to get to, but that's what I'm going to do on today's Try to Finish Something.
In a world where everyone has their own YouTube channel and podcast, this guy had a YouTube channel but no podcast. Now, here's the guy with zero original ideas.
If you can't be at least mildly interesting, then shut the hell up.
It's Shawn Cash and the Shawn Cash Podcast.
He's brilliant, but he's got the good looks of someone much dumber.
So, I'm honestly not sure what this is. This is definitely not a podcast. I just have a lot of things that I am currently working on that I figured I would share with you since it's been so long since I've been able to put out a video. I didn't want you to think that something had happened to me. I am just frantically working on props for an upcoming horror movie, and it's all over the place. And it's not in my nature to say I can't do that. I'm just going to figure out how to do that. And I've been building so many different random things. I can't even begin to describe the process behind all of it, but I thought I would bring you along and share some of the stuff that I've been putting together, and figured that we could do this all together. But this video is going to be all over the place because I'm building a lot of different things. And in the first of those things, one of the props that I need to make is a cat head. There is this video is going to be full of a lot of weird statements that, taken out of context, would here's a quick story. So one of the scenes in this horror movie is going to be a young kid who kills a cat. This is the first sign that you realize that this kid is a terrible, terrible person. So And again, I'm props and art direction for this, and I didn't realize that art direction was as big of a category as it is, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But back to my story. Sorry, I'm already on a tangent. So I was saying that there are a lot of things taken out of context that are going to be really weird. I had to meet up with the director, and I had to show him the real cat versus the stuffed cat that we're going to use to break this stuffed cat's neck. And we're sitting at a very busy intersection near Sacramento, and I'm sitting in my pickup truck, and he's filming with his phone, and the door to the pickup truck is wide open. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm petting the real cat. I put the real cat into the cat carrier, and then I switch the real cat out with the stuffed animal cat, and he's giving me direction. He's standing to the side. And again, this is a very busy intersection. And he says, okay, now hold the cat up and break the cat's neck and then throw it out of frame. So this is the scenario that's going on. And I realize as I'm looking that this whole process of me petting this real cat and then taking the stuffed cat and snapping the stuffed cat's neck, it doesn't take very long. It's maybe a 2-minute, maybe a minute and a half process. But the entire time this is going on, I realize that my open door is facing this busy intersection, and we filmed this a couple times. And the time it takes me to do this, the people at the stoplight are there the entire time watching this. They can see everything. And I realize we're going to wind up going to jail because this looks terrible. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing that is frantically going on, and I'm trying to solve problems and figure things out, and I'm going to share some of those with you. But one of the early on kills from this kid is another cat, not the gray cat. There's another cat that gets decapitated and disemboweled, and is that a word? And so I'm currently making fake cat heads. This will be the cat head that's hanging from the light. I'm in the middle of making an autopsied cat, and I figured I would bring you along for some of the fun. So I had an idea where if I took a nylon and I sewed the nylon into a thinner tube, I could take something like stuffing. This is the stuffing that was pulled out of the stuffed cat, and I could shove the stuffing into the piece of nylon, and it would give me a fairly convincing organ, an intestine. This intestine is, I wanted it to kind of stay in, I wanted it to kind of stay in this, I don't know, hot crossed bun shape. And so I just took on the back and I just kind of sewed some of the seams together to keep it in that shape. I also used that same process where I took a piece of the nylon, I stuffed it, and then I made a little heart. It's kind of glossy right now. And the way I did this is I took 2-part epoxy. I mixed in some resin tint. You can see it in this cup. And I mixed the two of those together with that. Sorry. And then I painted my nylon to give me that. And I'm going to probably give a little bit of color and some resin to this organ as well. I'm going to create some other organs, and one of the other... So, being the art director, I didn't realize it's everything. In one of the scenes, there's a psychiatrist's office, and it's an old medical building that is completely empty. There's nothing in it, and that's going to be the psychiatrist's office. And they said, okay, well, here's the empty office, and we're going to need this to look like a working doctor's office. And make it happen. And I realized, oh, you need a desk and you need books and a plant and a diploma. So I went and with the doctor's name, I made a fake degree, a diploma that is going to go on the wall. I printed a door name tag that I made. I had to dress the set so that there are books and exit forms because this doctor is releasing this kid who's now older. And so I had to make all of these things, all of them. And so now this is starting to make sense why I haven't been putting videos out. I've been busy making so many different random things, name badges for everybody in the hospital. And in some of the scenes, like the cat scene, it's in a house. So sometimes it's a set that we can do whatever we want with, and sometimes it's somebody's house, and we're using that for a particular scene that house was rented out for this movie. And the one house that the dead cat's in is a super nice house that has these very expensive real hardwood floors. And the idea is there's a trail of blood that the family is following on their way to this dead cat. And we couldn't put actual blood on the floor. And they said, find a way to put blood on the floor and make it so that it's removable and doesn't stain the floor. All right. So I did a series of different experiments. I tried hot glue, mixing hot glue with some tint. I tried Elmer's glue. I just tried a bunch of different things trying to find out what would work to give me some realistic looking blood. And that's when I came up with this idea of using the clear resin with dye, and it gave me blood. So I took wax paper and I made blood splatters that I can remove from the wax paper. And let me try and remove one here, and it will give me little stringy pieces of blood that I can put on the floor and remove very easily. So that's how I solved that problem. Have I done any of this before? Did I mention? No, I haven't. So the other thing that I need to create, and I watched a lot of, and I've mentioned this before, I watched a lot of Face Off in the past, and one of the things that they would make is Nurlies, I think. They would take latex and they would spread latex on things and they would peel it up and it would give them kind of a ragged skin, torn skin pieces. And I'm going to make some of that for the cat that has the chest cavity open and all of the organs inside. It's just fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's a challenge trying to figure out how to do these things. One of the things, and I'll show some footage here just so you see what I'm talking about, is they have a curiosities shop. It's a cafe and curiosities and army surplus and all of these different things. And they wanted a sign that it's a small town, and they wanted a sign that was supposed to look old and it was supposed to look distressed, which again, this is the kind of thing that I do like to do and I am familiar with. But they wanted this sign and they wanted me to be creative, and they didn't want it to look like it had, been mass produced. This sign was supposed to be something that was cobbled together and had kind of that random feel to it. And so what I did is I wanted to have different letters, like the Cassie, who is the person who has this shop. She found signs from different letters, and she made her own sign using random letters so that it was a cafe and curiosity shop. And so I wanted a bunch of different letters. And so what I did is off to the Glow Forge, and I wanted one of those letters to be the kind that have like the lights in them. So I decided I was going to just make my own. So what I did was I took the Glowforge and I made the pattern of the E, that's the E in cafe, and then I wanted it to look like a metal sign that had like the walls that had been bent around, but I don't have any welding skills and wasn't exactly sure how to do that, so I did it all in the Glowforge. And the side walls I did all in the Glowforge. I then painted it. I did weathering with toothpaste. As you can see here, I just rubbed off the toothpaste, exposing the layers below to give me a weathered look. And then I wanted it to be rusty because this was supposed to be a metal sign, even though I was making it on the Glowforge out of wood. I took a small brush and I made the drips, I made chips in the sign, and then I bought a full pack of these on Amazon, and these are to hold little tiny light bulbs, and I attached all of those to the sign, giving me a light up E. It doesn't actually light up. I could make it light up, and probably after the production, when I get the sign back and maybe hang it on a wall or something, I will make that sign light up. But because there's no electricity to the area where the sign is, I didn't think it was really necessary in this instance. So that sign I made, here's a picture of the sign with all of the different letters. I still have yet to attach all of the letters to the sign. They need to be brought up a little bit. And speaking of signs, one of the parts of the movie is they wanted a town sign that as you're pulling into the town, it says America's safest city. And then at the very end of the movie, there's a gag that happens and somebody spray paints on this sign. But I needed that town sign. Again, I've never made a sign. This isn't something I've done and something that I normally do, but here I was making a sign again. I used the Glowforge again because I wanted this to look like one of those kind of carved signs that you would see like outside of a state park or something in California. And they kind of all have that very similar look with the rounded top, and that part, the sign itself and the edge, I did on the jigsaw. I cut that out, and then I made the letters so that they looked like they were kind of carved in and those were still raised. I did those on the Glowforge, attached everything, painted it, weathered it. I got the little bird's nest in the corner to make it look like it's been there a while, and I have to install this sign at the edge of our town. I just have to get a couple posts for it, and I will put that at the edge of town and take care of that when we start filming that particular scene. Some of the other things that I've been making. All right, so here's one. The director came to me and said, we need a pitchfork kill. We need a pitchfork that is stabbed through this guy's head. So we're going to need you to figure out a way to make this happen. And we want to do as much of it as a real practical effect as possible, and try and make it so that we have minimal visual effects to make this look right. So I was trying to figure out how to do this, and my thought was to get 2 matching pitchforks because they wanted them to be old rusty pitchforks that are on a pig farm. So I have these 2 pitchforks, and I figured that if the pitchfork was sticking into my head, and I have a giant head, so I hope this winds up working out with the actual actor. I realized that if the pitchfork is sticking me in the head this way, the pitchfork, the actual fork here, is going to be shorter than here because one, it's hitting your forehead and the other's hitting your cheek. So the way that it panned out is I had to figure out exactly what the difference is of that so that it's pressing against my flesh. So I cut off 2 of the forks of the pitchfork, and then I filed those down so that it was very rounded and it wasn't going to hurt the actor who was getting killed, as this was sticking against their skin. And then what would happen is the makeup effects side would then make the little, almost like a bullet hole that the fork was sticking into so that it looked like it was really in the flesh of this person. But I had to make it so that I had an apparatus that would support the weight of this, because they didn't want the person on the ground. That would have been the easiest way to do it, because if you laid down, I could have had the two middle forks here, and then the other two that were coming like this would just be stuck in the ground, and that would hold the pitchfork itself in place. That would have been easy. But what they wanted is the chase happens inside of like this little wooded area, and they climb over this pile of wood and they get stabbed back against this pile of wood. So they were going to be at like this kind of angle with the pitchfork sticking out of their head. So I had to make something that would support the weight of this real pitchfork out there. And I thought about a bunch of different things. I thought about like 3D printing a pitchfork because it would be lighter, and I didn't have time, talent, or the 3D printer to make that possible. So I decided that if I made something out of wood, I could put holes in it that the two pitchforks on the side would be stuck into, and I decided to cut this out of plywood. So here I am just kind of cutting out my shape out of plywood that gave me this. It's, I don't know, kind of looks like an alien. It looks like Shrek. Like if Shrek got really skinny and the little tentacle things were on the side. Anyway, so that's what it looks like to me. I don't know why I'm describing that. You can see it here in the picture. But so it's small so that the back of it is hidden behind your head, and then it has just the two little prongs sticking out that are painted flat black. It's chalkboard paint. And then when the pitchfork is stuck into that, you just see a little bit of black that the visual effects side will have to remove and erase from the shot. But because the back of this is long, you're able to lay up against it like this, or as you can see here, I can walk around with it. But you lay up against it, and that entire board holds the weight of the pitchfork that's sticking into my face. So that's how I was able to solve that problem. But like I said, you can see there are a lot of things going on. I am frantically working, but I'm getting ready to make some more internal organs. I have my pile of my filling here. I've got a lot more of my epoxy. I've got more nylons, and I got to get to work because filming starts in 2 days, and I've got just a couple things left to do. And that's what I've been working on. That's why I haven't had a video out. As soon as all of this is done, I will show you and bring you in on more of what I've been working on. But there's a quick update. I just wanted you to know that I am still making videos. I am still around. I have just been very busy working on this movie, and I just thought I would give you an update and share with you. Thanks for joining me, everybody, and please subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel. So many things are happening. There's some great partnerships that are coming up, and more movies and more Star Wars builds. I still have all of this stuff. You can see I've even been rearranging the room in here just to give me more room. But I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe. Check out something in my Amazon wish list. And honestly, thanks for watching, and thanks for joining me in this journey. Thanks, everybody.